question. Do y'all look at isolation versus compound? Like I know, Bert, you said, well, not legs. It would be like quads versus ham. Or if someone does need to bring up their whole lower half, would you think like, okay, big compound squat deads, or would you address via one thing at a time through isolation exercises? I don't know if I asked that right, but talk to me about that.
Yeah, it's a fair question because I think that's the easiest thing to usually do. We're trying to improve our biceps. Let's just add in a few sets of bicep curls, right? It's direct work.
Well, what about like quads?
Well, okay, it's kind of the same thing there, you know? Maybe we just add in a few sets of leg extensions as opposed to now let's revamp the program and go exclusively with split squats. You know what I mean? I think I always try to make it as simple as possible at first. And the direct work, the isolation work, I feel like is where we kind of get the most bang for our buck from a recovery and a recovery and stimulus or supply and demand kind of a scenario. Sometimes we can easily add that in and not take away anything else. But, you know, oftentimes I think we are smart enough to kind of say, okay, let's remove a little bit of our compound work and add in more of our direct work. You know what I mean? Just because the carryover, the amount of carryover that you're taking away, I feel like is going to be more than made up from the direct work that you're going to be doing. But that's kind of what I like to kind of to do is go right to the direct work, because some of that isolation stuff is easily added with not a real huge cost of recovery, as long as you're being smart about your training.
You know, and if you're keeping track of everything, it's amazing how just these small little tweaks can go very far. I've experienced this many times with our powerlifting brothers and sisters, where they have the assumed to be poverty bench press, right? And so we're injured. We can't do our squats and our deadlifts. And, you know, because we're injured, I'm like, I'm not going to use, I want some of that energy to go into just recovering from this so that we can just be running on all cylinders again. So they're basically doing the same amount of bench pressing than that they were doing prior to that most of the time. And finally, that bench press like unlocks after many training cycles where we're getting like 2.5 kilos here, maybe 5 kilos there. And it's been very frustrating on a relative scale compared to the deadlift and the squat. So, and that's just from taking something away. Obviously, you know, you can't go one for one on those, because the deadlift and the squat, you know, they produce massive amounts of fatigue. But nevertheless, it kind of goes to show you just how getting rid of some of the excess, sometimes just leaving things alone, that itself can take you quite far. It's just hard to pull that trigger, obviously, when, you know, it's your own situation.
So if we're talking like bigger body part, like let's say we're trying to improve overall lower body development, I kind of think of a spread across a week. Like if someone's hitting their legs 2 times per week, I think of frequency. Okay, if I can get more leg work on a third day, how can I make that happen? Where does it make more sense to put the bigger lifts, smaller lifts? So I think most people, you know, when they start their weeks out, you know, energy is usually fairly high. They're coming off some rest days. They're more recovered. So I think bigger lifts, you know, are probably better served there. And then as the week progresses, you know, obviously you're adding in more training sessions. Naturally, your fatigue is going to escalate. So that's where I think about, you know, okay, maybe the last training day of the week where I'm hitting this third leg day, I'm just going to do some isolations, maybe some leg extensions, leg curls, maybe a glute pull through, something that's not going to generate a ton of fatigue, but we are getting in effective volume there. So that way you're able to recover and you can get more long-term progress that way. And again, like Berto says, like you just have to manage your other body parts. Like you have to kind of tone the volume down in order to kind of, you know, justify, you know, doing 3 lower body sessions in a given week, because it is pretty demanding.